In Britain, the BBC is under fire in a child sex abuse scandal. It is accused of failing to control one of its most famous personalities. Mark Phillips is in London with that story. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. Well, there is something darkly familiar about this story. A great institution smeared by scandal, a respected figure accused of child abuse, and lots of young victims. In this case, it's not Penn State, it's the British Broadcasting Corporation, and it's not Jerry Sandusky, it's a man named Jimmy Savile. He was a flamboyant DJ and TV bandstand host in the heyday of British 60s and 70s pop culture.
And how about that then?
He was a bleach blonde, mop-top, cigar-chomping national institution, the idol of teeny boppers and younger children across the land, which was convenient for him because it turns out Jimmy Savile is accused of being a serial child molester who preyed on his fans. Witnesses say he'd sometimes take them into the motorhome that followed him on his charity runs, or allege he'd take them into his dressing room at the BBC, or that he would abuse children during visits to hospitals, or he'd molest them at a mental institution where disturbed children were sent. Stephen George, who before his sex change was a teenage girl, was one of those institutionalized children.
And he then put his hands between my legs, and there was nothing I could do. The kind of institution it was, you couldn't stand up and say, oh look, this is what this man's doing, stop him or whatever. They would have punished us, they wouldn't have believed us.
Jimmy Savile, Sir Jimmy since his knighthood, died a year ago. But the rumors that he was a predatory pedophile persisted, and a BBC News program began to prepare a report. Suspiciously, that report was cancelled just as a series of tributes to Savile were about to be broadcast.
And that's what
The new head of the BBC, George Entwistle, is now trying to defend it, and in front of a hostile parliamentary committee, denied a cover-up.
This is a gravely serious matter, and one cannot look back at it with anything other than horror, frankly.
Investigations have been launched. Who knew what Savile was up to, and why didn't they stop it? Jimmy Savile once rubbed shoulders with the good, the great, and the famous. Now his reputation has been destroyed. And the question is, will he take the reputation of one of the world's great media organizations down with him? And there's another American angle to this sordid story. The man who was in charge here at the BBC during the time when the Jimmy Savile story was being suppressed is moving on to a new job. His name is Mark Thompson, and the new job is President and Chief Executive Officer of the New York Times. The stain of this story is spreading far and wide.
Thank you, Mark Phillips.